A wealthy groom ridiculed his fiancée's modest wedding dress, but when she appeared at the altar, he was stunned. The soft light from crystal chandeliers shimmered on the elegant gowns displayed throughout the boutique. The air was fragrant with fresh roses mixed with a subtle scent of fine fabrics. Emma stood on the fitting platform, looking at herself in the full-length mirror. The dress was simple yet graceful, a delicate fitted gown with lace accents and flowing chiffon that reached the floor. It wasn't extravagant, but it was a dress she had dreamed of and saved for months to afford. It felt like home. She turned slightly, admiring how it perfectly complemented her figure. "It's perfect," she whispered, tracing the lace on the sleeves. But the warmth in her chest disappeared as the boutique door opened abruptly. "Emma," Noah's deep voice called out. She turned, her heart racing not with joy, but with tension. Noah Sterling, her fiancé, stood there in a sharp navy suit, the embodiment of wealth and arrogance. His piercing blue eyes scanned the room before settling on her. Then he laughed. "That's what you're wearing to our wedding?" His tone was mocking, a smirk playing on his lips. Emma's stomach churned. She swallowed hard. "Try and keep calm." "Yes, she began. "No," Noah interrupted, stepping forward with a look of disdain as he examined the dress. "It looks cheap." The words hit her like a slap. Her cheeks flushed as she clenched her fists. "It's not cheap," she said quietly. "I chose it because Because what? It was on sale?" Noah sneered, shaking his head. Behind him, two of his friends, who had never treated her as an equal, chuckled quietly. Then his mother entered. Margaret Sterling, the high society matriarch, graceful and condescending, glanced at Emma and sighed pityingly. "Oh, darling," she cooed, stepping closer. "Is that really the dress you want?" Emma's throat tightened. "Yes," she forced out. "I love it." Noah chuckled dryly. "Emma, be serious. You're marrying into one of the richest families in the country. Do you really think you can walk down the aisle in that thrift store-looking thing?" His friends laughed louder. Emma felt as if the ground had vanished beneath her. She had always known she was different from them, coming from a world where money wasn't flaunted. But she had never felt the divide so sharply. Her hands trembled as she smoothed the dress's fabric. "It's not about the price," she said, voice steadying. "This dress means something to me. It's the one I want to wear." Noah sighed mockingly, running a hand through his perfect hair. "Emma, I'm not trying to be cruel. I just expected more." His mother smiled knowingly, placing a hand on his arm. "Why don't we find something more suitable for you, dear? I know a Paris designer who could create a custom gown something worthy of the Sterling name." Emma's heart tightened. Worthy? As if she wasn't already worthy. As if a dress could decide her place. She looked at Noah, searching for any sign he understood her pain, but found only a smug indifference. Like her feelings were an afterthought. Something inside her snapped. She took a deep breath, stepped off the platform, and held her head high. "Thank you for your offer," she said calmly but firmly. "But I've already made my choice." She turned to the mirror one last time, embracing the dress that symbolized everything she was. Then she looked at Noah and added quietly, "One day, you'll realize how wrong you were to underestimate me." Noah raised an eyebrow, amused. "We'll see about that." Emma said no more, but in her heart, she vowed to make him regret every word. The more time Emma spent with Noah's family, the more she felt like an outsider. She had expected differences in lifestyle and values, but not the cold stares, the cutting remarks, or the way they spoke about her as if she wasn't there. At every event from lavish engagement parties to wedding meetings, the message was clear. She didn't belong. At one party, Emma sat stiffly beside Noah, trying to blend in. It didn't work. "So, Emma," one of Noah's friends drawled, swirling his wine, "how does it feel to go from rags to riches overnight?" Laughter rippled around the table. Emma forced a smile, gripping her champagne glass. "I didn't fall into riches," she replied smoothly. "I fell in love." Another guest smirked. "Oh, honey, that's adorable. But let's be honest. Do you really think Noah would have noticed you if you weren't beautiful?" Her stomach twisted before she could answer. Margaret Sterling leaned in, a delicate smile on her lips. "You must forgive them, dear," she said sweetly. "They just don't understand how untraditional this is." Emma looked at her. Untraditional? Margaret sipped her wine elegantly. Noah was always expected to marry within our social circle. This Cinderella story is a shock for everyone. Emma's throat tightened. "I didn't realize love was limited by tax brackets," she said evenly. Margaret chuckled. "Love is lovely, dear, but marriage is about partnerships, about compatibility." The message was clear. Emma was not compatible with their world. She wasn't one of them and never would be. Emma looked toward Noah, hoping he would say anything to defend her. Instead, he just smirked and took another sip of his drink, as if he found the whole situation amusing. Her heart sank. He had heard every insult and condescending remark, but did nothing. He neither stopped them nor corrected them. He didn't stand up for her. It was as if he didn't see the problem at all. That's when Emma started to question everything. Had he ever truly loved her? Or was she just a passing novelty, a temporary thrill, before he moved on to someone more suitable? The thought churned her stomach, but she refused to show weakness, not here, not now. So she lifted her chin, smiled, and played along. She endured the rest of the evening with grace, pretending their words didn't cut deep. But inside, something changed. For the first time, Emma wasn't just doubting the wedding, she was doubting everything. One thing was certain. They would regret underestimating her. To the world, Emma was just an ordinary girl, a fortunate woman who caught the eye of a millionaire. They assumed she was nothing special, just an outsider trying to break into a world where she didn't belong. They were wrong. Emma was a fashion prodigy, a woman whose talent had once turned heads in the most prestigious design houses in Paris, Milan, and New York. A woman who had walked away from it all. No one, not Noah, his mother, nor his shallow friends, had any idea who she really was. Years ago, Emma's life had been very different. She was a rising star in the fashion industry, designing breathtaking gowns for elite clients worldwide. Her name was whispered in designer circles. Her sketches brought to life in renowned couture ateliers, and her future seemed limitless until tragedy struck. Her mother fell gravely ill, and Emma made an impossible choice. She left everything behind: her career, the glamour, the runway shows, the flashing cameras to be by her side. Family mattered more than fame. When her mother passed, Emma never returned to the industry. She let the world move on without her. She chose a simpler life, far from the ruthless world of high fashion. Until now, the gown Noah and his friends mocked wasn't just any dress. It was her creation, her most personal work. A dress that embodied her mother's love, her passion, and her artistry. She had spent months secretly hand-sewing every intricate lace detail, making sure every stitch held meaning. She poured her soul into it, yet Noah had laughed at it. He called it cheap, unaware that the woman he was about to marry was capable of creating masterpieces, works once sought after by royalty, celebrities, and women who would have paid fortunes for her designs. But Emma never told him. She didn't need their approval or validation. Instead, she let them believe their assumptions. Let them look down on her. Because on her wedding day, when she walked down the aisle, she would make sure they never forgot the moment they underestimated her. She would reveal who she truly was. And by then it would be too late. The grand cathedral was decorated with white roses and golden chandeliers, filled with the city's most powerful and influential people. A wedding fit for royalty, or at least that's what Noah's family insisted on. Noah, sterling, wealthy, handsome, and highly sought after, stood at the altar with neutral, almost bored expression. He adjusted the cuff of his designer suit, ignoring the murmurs of the crowd whispering about Emma's dress. "I can't believe he's marrying her. She's lucky, sure, but I heard her dress is cheap. Can't wait to see the disaster." Noah smirked at the last comment, still thinking about the dress he had mocked days before. He half expected his mother to have convinced Emma to change it. Surely she wouldn't wear that dress today, would she? Then the music changed. The cathedral doors swung open, and Emma stepped inside. Instantly, the room fell silent. Every conversation stopped. Noah's heartbeat faltered. His smirk disappeared. Emma, the woman he had doubted and mocked, was unrecognizable. She wasn't just beautiful, she was breathtaking. Her wedding gown was nothing like the cheap dress he had ridiculed. It shimmered when elegance money couldn't buy. The delicate lace melted into her skin like poetry, every detail woven with painstaking artistry. The chandelier's soft glow caught the embroidery, creating an ethereal effect as she glowed from within. She looked like a queen. No, a goddess. Noah wasn't the only one stunned. Guests who had gossiped about her mediocrity were speechless. "Who designed that?" someone whispered. "That's not off the rack. That's the masterpiece. I've never seen anything like it." Noah's mother, Margaret, gripped her pearls, shocked. Even Noah's closest friends, who had laughed at Emma, stared in disbelief. But none were as shaken as Noah. As Emma walked closer, he was struck not just by the dress, but by her. She held her head high with absolute confidence, owning every step as if she belonged entirely to herself. This wasn't the timid girl he had dismissed. This wasn't just a lucky fiancé marrying into wealth. This was a woman who knew her worth. For the first time, Noah felt afraid. He realized he had never truly seen her before, and now it might be too late. A murmur spread to the cathedral like wildfire. Guests whispered in shock, eyes wide as they took in Emma's gown. "Where did she get that dress? I thought it was cheap. That fabric, those details, it looks like a one-of-kind design." Among the stunned faces, one reaction stood out. Giovanni De Luca, one of the world's most renowned fashion designers, rose from his seat. His name carried immense weight, and everything he touched turned to gold. He had been silent until now. Now, he stared at Emma with the intensity of someone who had just uncovered a treasure. "This dress," he breathed, stepping forward, "is an original design." A collective gasp echoed. Noah's stomach dropped. "What?" he blurted, but Giovanni wasn't listening. He approached Emma, eyes full of admiration. "I've seen thousands of gowns, but this is beyond perfection. The work of a true artist." Turning to the crowd, he declared, "This is no ordinary gown. It's a masterpiece, crafted by a designer who understands elegance, grace, and storytelling through fabric." Then he looked back at Emma, eyes narrowing with recognition. "Who made this dress?" Emma smiled a small, knowing smile that sent a chill down Noah's spine. She inhaled deeply, then faced the crowd. "I did." Silence. Absolute, profound silence. Then the room exploded with murmurs and gasps. Noah felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath him. "You made this?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Emma turned to him, her eyes shining with a fierce, victorious light. "Yes, Noah." She stepped forward. "You called my dress cheap. You mocked me. You let your friends and your mother belittle me without ever defending me." Her voice remained steady and unwavering. "But what you never realized is that I was never just some lucky girl who stumbled into your world." Her words hit him like a freight train. Emma paused, then delivered the final revelation. "Before I left the industry, I was known as Laurent." Noah's blood ran cold. Laurent. The Laurent? The elusive, legendary designer whose creations have been coveted by royalty, celebrities, and fashion icons worldwide. The same Laurent whose name vanished years ago, leaving the fashion world bewildered and bereft. The woman he had mocked, underestimated, and dismissed was one of the most brilliant talents in couture he had never known. Gasps and whispers filled the cathedral. Margaret Sterling's face turned pale as she gripped the edge of her chair. Noah's friends, who had spent weeks gossiping behind Emma's back, avoided her gaze, clearly ashamed. Even Noah himself felt something unfamiliar, deep, unshakable shame. He had spent so long looking down on Emma, never once considering she might be far more than he assumed. And now, standing before him, she was everything he had failed to see. Strong, brilliant, unapologetic, and worst of all, completely out of his reach. Noah swallowed hard. "Emma, I dash." But she wasn't finished. She turned to the crowd, radiating the confidence of a woman reclaiming her power. "I may not come from money," she said, "but I know my worth. And after today, so will you." Noah had never felt smaller in his life. For the first time, he realized he might have just lost the greatest thing that ever happened to him. Noah Sterling had always been a man who got what he wanted. Wealth, power, status, everything that made the world bow at his feet. But today, For the first time, he was about to lose something irreplaceable. Someone Emma, and it was entirely his fault. The grand cathedral, once buzzing with admiration, now stood in stunned silence. Every eye, every breath was fixed on Emma. She stood before Noah radiant, unshaken, untouchable. In her gaze, he saw something more terrifying than anger or pain. Indifference. It wasn't fury. It wasn't heartbreak. It was the look of a woman who had already let him go. Suddenly, his chest tightened with panic. "Emma!" He stepped forward, his voice softer than ever. She raised a hand, stopping him cold. "Don't." The word was simple, but the weight behind it was immense. He swallowed hard. "I was wrong," he admitted, voice raw. "I didn't know." "That's the problem, Noah," she said calmly but firmly. "You never cared enough to know. You saw only what you wanted to see. And when I didn't fit into your world the way you expected, you mocked me. You let your family humiliate me, and you never once stood up for me." Her words cut deeper than any insult because they were true. For the first time, Noah couldn't argue. He had been blind, arrogant, and now he was about to pay the price. Emma inhaled deeply, lifting her chin. "I will not marry you, Noah." The words hung in the air like thunder. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Margaret Sterling let out a strangled sound of shock and horror. The officiant froze mid-sentence. Even Noah felt the air leave his lungs. "What?" he whispered. Emma stepped closer, her gaze steady. "I deserve someone who saw my worth from the start, not just when it became undeniable." She let the words sink in before adding softly but firmly, "And that person was never you." Noah's heart pounded. This wasn't how the day was supposed to go. She was supposed to say, "I do." She was supposed to become his wife. But now he was losing her. And the worst part? She didn't even look back. Emma turned away, her steps slow and deliberate as she walked down the aisle. Every eye followed her. Every whisper carried her name. "She's really leaving? Oh my God, this is legendary." She just humiliated the Sterlings in front of everyone. Noah wanted to call after her, to beg her to stay. But he didn't, because deep down, he knew she was already gone. And all he could do was watch the best thing in his life walk away. For the first time, Noah Sterling was not in control. He had built his identity on wealth, power, and reputation on always having the upper hand. But now, he was the man everyone laughed at. And worse, the man who had lost Emma. News of the disastrous wedding spread like wildfire. By morning, every major media outlet had picked up the story. Headlines blared across social media. "Runaway bride" or "runaway victory." Emma Loron leaves Billionaire Groom at the altar. Noah Sterling mocks fiancé's dress, turns out she's a world-famous designer. Sterling family humiliated as fiancé exposes groom's arrogance. Noah watched as the world tore him apart. His company's stock dipped noticeably. Investors whispered about his poor judgment. Clients hesitated to close deals with a man publicly exposed as shallow and condescending. His so-called friends laughed behind his back. Even his mother, Margaret Sterling, was furious. "You let her humiliate us," she hissed. "You should have controlled the situation before it went this far." But Noah knew the truth. There was no controlling Emma. And that was what made losing her hurt even more. Because he had never truly been worthy of her. As Noah's reputation crumbled, Emma soared to new heights. The world finally recognized her real identity and undeniable talent. Designers, brands, and investors flooded her inbox with opportunities. Though she had stepped away from the fashion industry years ago, now the industry was eager for her comeback. But this time, Emma returned on her own terms. In interviews, she was graceful, poised, and confident. When asked about Noah, she simply smiled and said, "I wish him well, but I know my worth now, and I won't settle for less." That was her ultimate statement of power. She didn't need revenge or success was enough. Noah sat alone in his penthouse, gazing out at the city skyline. A year ago, he would have laughed if told he'd end up here alone, defeated, forgotten. Now he silently replayed her words. "I deserve someone who saw my worth from the beginning." With a painful twist in his gut, he realized he would never find another woman like her, and he would regret letting her go for the rest of his life. A full year had passed since Emma walked away from Noah Sterling, never looking back. In that time, everything had changed for him, and for the world that once mocked her. But the greatest change of all, she was finally free. The Emma Loran of today was a far cry from the woman who once stood in a boutique clutching a dress while her fiancé and his family humiliated her. She was no longer the girl trying to prove her worth to the wrong people. She had become a force of nature. Her designs were now worn by celebrities, royalty, and fashion leaders. Her name, the one she had hidden for so long, was now splashed across the covers of top magazines. The return of Loran, a fashion empire reborn from rejection to runway. How Emma Loran built a legacy after walking away from a billionaire. But beyond fame and fortune, Emma was truly happy. For the first time in her life, she was surrounded by people who valued her for who she was, not for what she could give. Among those people was someone special. Emma never sought love again after Noah. She told herself she needed time to heal, to rediscover herself. But sometimes love finds you when you least expect it. And it found her not through grand gestures or lavish gifts, but in simple moments. Long conversations over coffee, effortless laughter, and a man who never made her feel she had to prove herself. A man who saw her worth from the very start. While Emma moved forward thriving, loving, and living, Noah remained trapped in the past. He had everything money could buy, but none of it filled the emptiness Emma left behind. He thought about reaching out, but what could he say? I'm sorry I didn't see you for who you really were. I regret everything. She was no longer the woman he dismissed. She was so much more, and he had been too blind to see it when it mattered. Now, he would carry that regret forever. One warm morning, golden sunlight spilled over the streets of Paris. Emma stepped out of a cafe, laughing softly at something the man beside her said. She felt light, at peace, and whole as she walked toward a life she had built with her own hands, a future that was truly hers. One thing was certain. She had once been underestimated, mocked, and dismissed. But now she was unstoppable. As she vanished into the morning light, one thought lingered. I was always enough. They were just too blind to see it. And with that, she walked toward the happiness she had always deserved. Emma's journey proved to the world, and most importantly to herself, that true worth is never defined by money, status, or anyone else's approval. She had been doubted and belittled, but in the end, she rose above it all. Because the greatest victory isn't just proving others wrong, it's proving to yourself that you were always enough.